As you may recall, the PowerShell ISE, or the Integrated Scripting Environment, is a built-in tool for working with scripts in PowerShell. It's designed to allow you to more easily build and manage your scripts. So let's take a look at the ISE and working with scripts. So here over on my client machine again, we're going to take a look at the Windows PowerShell ISE. So I'm going to right click my PowerShell icon, and notice I got the choice to either run it as a standard user or run it as an administrator. So we're going to choose to run it as the administrator. I'll put my credentials in, and that'll open up the PowerShell ISE console as an admin user. So you notice that I've got a number of windows here. I've got a top window. This is where I can type in my code. At the bottom window is very similar to the PowerShell console in that it'll show you when code runs what the output is. So you can put in commands up here. So I could do a get-service, and then if I wanted to see the output of that, I could go up here and run the selection, and I could either select it entirely, or I could just leave my cursor on that line, and I could click that, or I could also hit F8. I like to use a keyboard shortcut, so F8 will run that, and you see that that gave us that output for us. So if you go back up here, notice as I space, and when I put the dash in, it comes up with a list of all of the parameters that I can use. So this is super helpful when you're learning PowerShell. So I showed you a lot of tools inside the console of how to work with stuff. This I found is to be really helpful. So I can click on any of these and it'll show me how to work with that. So if I want to put in computer name, I simply double click on that, and then I could put in client 02. I could do an F8, and it runs that for me. And it's as simple as that. So that's, little bit of how we can work with some of the things. And you notice things that are color coded here. You see you've got the royal blue here. That is for those are the commandlets or commands functions that we're running. The darker blue, you'll see that those are for your parameters. You'll see your values oftentimes are going to come in the purple color. And there'll be different colors depending on the things that you have opened in here. So we're going to go and take a look at, see what it looks like when we actually look at a script that's already been created. So I'm going to go down into my scripts directory, go to the get-stop services, PowerShell script, and you see there is my script, and it opens it up and it has the line numbers next to it, which makes it easy when you're debugging out your code. So you see basically all this is I've created a variable here and it's doing a get-service, and then I'm simply selecting out of that the services that are stopped, and then I'm putting that into using some logic of for each loop so that it goes through and looks at those. Notice we've got a little minus sign here, so I can click on that, and that will basically, I can expand or contract my code to make it cleaner. So if I'm working with a lot of code, I can contract different pieces of code so that that's not really in my field of view. So it makes it much cleaner when you're working through it. So if I want to create a new script in the ISE, I simply go up here and I choose new, and that'll open up a window for me. So let's put in, I'm just going to create a variable here called computer name. And then in this case, I'm going to do what's called a read host. Enter computer name. And then I am going to do a get-sim instance where the class name is Win32 operating system. And then notice I put a space and I'm putting a backtick because that allows me to go to a new line. When you're creating scripts, sometimes the window is a little bit smaller. It's not a big wide window. So if we have a longer command, so you don't have to scroll across the screen. I can use a backtick to go to a new line. So on this new line, I'm going to put computer name, and we'll put in that variable. Notice as I'm going through, I've got that tab complete that brings up all that information that I can add in. And then I can pipe this, and if I hit enter, and then I can do a select object, put in my property, CS name, and last boot up time. And you notice here as well, what I was able to do, because I put a pipe in, I can new line right from there and go to the next command. I don't have to have it on the same line. So that's another way that we can differentiate that out. So then I can then save this, click on save, and then it'll ask me for a name. And then I'm going to put in get OS info version 2.ps1, which is an extension for PowerShell. And then I can run this from within the ISC. Notice it gives me the prompt asking for the computer name. I can put in client02, and it brings me back the information. So that's a little bit working in the ISC and how to create a basic script and save that for use.